Greetings and welcome to our video on Scratch. You're going to come to Scratch, the website, which is at https://scratch.mit.edu. It's right here in the URL. You're going to create an account in Scratch. You just have to be careful. You create the account in the usual way, but it will send you an email to confirm. You have to confirm or you won't be able to log in. If you can't log in, you can't make your project public, which is what we're going to do. So I'm going to sign in. I already have my account. And then we can create a program. So I'm going to go to Create. I have this project available to me. Notice a few things here. We've got over here on the left, we've got a number of options available to us in this navigation bar. The most important of these is the one that will come up by default, which is your coding tab. The coding tab allows you to give your instructions for your program. And then you have this workspace in here. That's where your program is going to go. And then over here you see what the program will look like. There's already one sprite available to you, this little cat. And you can choose your own sprites if you want. You can even edit the sprites. And here we have a sprite editor. So the way that programs work in Scratch is that we simply drag the instructions over and connect them together, and they get executed in that order. But Scratch is an event-driven programming. We talked about that in our lecture on programming, which means that all code is associated with some sort of event that happens. And the first event that we care about is when they hit this start button, when they say run the program. So we go over to the events tab in the coding block, and we find the event that's associated with when that is pressed, which is this one right here. So this, let me make my screen a little bigger. There we go. So, so when the start button is clicked is that event. You have other events. For instance, I could say, hey, when up arrow is pressed, that can be an event. So the code that we do gets executed when those events occur. So for example, we can move our sprite around using the motion tab. So let's say we move. 10 steps is a little small, so we'll move 50 steps. We could turn right away, but part of the problem with computer programs is they happen faster than you think. So we might want a little bit of a delay. So we're going to look at, I think it's under Control for waiting. So then after we move, we'll wait maybe half a second. And then we will, I don't know, turn 30 degrees. Maybe we'll turn 90 degrees. We'll make more extreme changes. And we'll wait again for another half a second. And then we'll move again, say another 50 steps. So we perform those instructions in order. When the start button is pressed, we have to figure out what we want to do when the up arrow is pressed. For now, let's just make a sound. We'll have the cat meow. How's that? Every time we select the up arrow. So we have a program now. We can run our program. I can move the start position of the sprite. I'll move it up here because we're going to go 50 steps, turn 90 degrees, 50 steps. So 50 steps, 90, 50 steps, right? So let's run. And every time I hit the up arrow, the program meows, right? And now this leaves the sprite in this position. So if I were to run again, it's going to run from there. If we want the sprite to be set in a specific pose, then we have to do that. There are ways of doing that. So for instance, go to a certain position, set yourself to a certain orientation, etc., and you should do that up front. We can also do things like repeat right? So we could repeat this. Let's move the move block inside the repeat. So we could actually repeat this over and over again as many times as we like. Let's do it 3 times. I'm going to set my direction of the sprite to 0. Oops, actually, it's 90. And then we will put the sprite here, and we'll just have, I guess if we're going to move 50 and then wait and then turn and then wait, we don't need to move again because that move is going to happen anyway. So let's just get rid of that. So now we have our program. It's just going to repeatedly do these things 3 times. We'll make it 4, so we'll come back around to the start. Right? So good. 50 steps seems a little light to me, so let's go 150 steps, right? And maybe we'll have them go around twice. So 8, we'll repeat the cycle 8 times because each time is a move and a turn, right? So here we go. I'm hitting the up arrow to get the owl sound. So that's the idea. We can also put in this control area, this has to do with control flow, we can have conditions if we want. Under these operators, you'll see that these angles have to do with what we drop into the conditions. So you can have conditions on, hey, some value that you're storing is bigger than something, or you can build up bigger expressions that add things and divide them and so forth. You can also have sensing conditions like, hey, the mouse pointer chart. In fact, why don't we do that instead of doing our meow on the that's not what I wanted. On up arrow press, we'll have it whenever the sprite itself is touching the mouse pointer. So let's try our program now. There we go. Has to happen at the end. Let's try again. It's a little hard to catch him, but that's the idea. So, so at this point, you can play it and you can see it, etc., but I can't. So the only way you can make it so that I can is if you hit this share button. So now you can title it and give it all sorts of instructions, etc. And once you've shared it, you can take the URL for your project and send it to me, and then I can run your project, which is what I need to do to grade it. You won't be able to share if you haven't accepted that email address when you created your account. All right, that should be good enough to get you started. Come get me if you need help. Remember, you're going to need to do at least 6 of the various things that I suggested. I have a bulletized list in the assignment. These include things like moving, turning, could be changing the background, sounds, speech bubbles, taking some input from the user. You get to choose what you want to do, make a sensible program that does something, a game or a simulation or a story or something along those lines.